I stood in the eerie silence of the abandoned vessel, my flashlight's beam piercing the thick darkness. The air was heavy, oppressive, as if the ship itself was alive and watching us. My heart pounded in my chest as I moved forward, every creak of the floorboards sending chills down my spine. Suddenly, a whisper echoed through the corridors, a chilling, disembodied voice calling my name. My blood ran cold. We weren't alone. It had all started 3 days ago, during a routine patrol of the Atlantic. Our cargo ship, the Neptune's Grace, was en route to New York from Southampton. The sea had been calm, the skies clear, and the crew in high spirits. I was the first mate, tasked with overseeing the night watch. The monotony of the dark, endless ocean was interrupted only by the occasional call over the radio or the soft murmur of the waves against the hull. It was during one of these quiet nights that we first spotted it, a ghostly silhouette on the horizon, barely visible in the moonlight. I called the captain, an old sea dog named Captain Harris, to the bridge. "Captain, there's something out there," I said, pointing to the faint outline in the distance. Captain Harris squinted through the binoculars, his expression hardening. "Looks like a ship. No lights, no signals. Strange." As we drew closer, it became clear that the vessel was adrift, listing slightly to one side. Its name, the Maria Celeste, was barely visible through the grime and seaweed that clung to its hull. We attempted to hail her over the radio, but there was no response. "Let's board her," the captain decided. "Might be a salvage opportunity. Besides, we need to check for survivors or any distress signals." We assembled a boarding party, myself, Captain Harris, and 3 other sailors. Tom, a burly deckhand, Pete, our ship's engineer, and Jackson, a young and eager seaman. Armed with flashlights and radios, we lowered a lifeboat and made our way to the derelict vessel. The Maria Celeste loomed over us as we approached, an ominous hulk of rusted metal and rotting wood. We secured the lifeboat and climbed aboard, the deck creaking ominously under our weight. A cold, unnatural fog clung to the ship, and the air was filled with the stench of decay. "Spread out," the captain ordered. "Let's see if we can find anything of value, or anyone in need of help." We split into pairs, Tom and Pete heading towards the stern while Jackson and I made our way to the bow. Captain Harris stayed near the lifeboat, keeping a watchful eye. The interior of the ship was a labyrinth of narrow corridors and rusted metal, every step echoing eerily in the silence. Jackson and I moved cautiously, our flashlights sweeping the darkness. The cabins were empty, but signs of a hasty departure were evident, half-eaten meals, overturned chairs, and personal belongings strewn about. "Looks like they left in a hurry," Jackson muttered, picking up a child's doll from the floor. We continued our search, descending into the lower decks where the air grew colder and the darkness thicker. It was here that we first heard it, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper, like the rustling of leaves in the wind. "Did you hear that?" Jackson whispered, his eyes wide with fear. I nodded, my grip tightening on the flashlight. "Stay close." The whispers grew louder, more distinct, as if they were all around us. We rounded a corner and came face to face with a sight that froze us in our tracks, a large, ornate mirror, cracked and tarnished, standing at the end of the corridor. Reflected in its shattered surface was not our own image, but that of a gaunt, spectral figure with hollow eyes and a mouth twisted in a silent scream. I stumbled back, my heart racing. Jackson screamed, dropping his flashlight. The beam flickered wildly, casting grotesque shadows on the walls. "We need to get out of here," I shouted, grabbing Jackson's arm and pulling him back towards the stairs. As we fled, the ship seemed to come alive around us. The whispers turned to screams, the walls groaning and closing in. We burst onto the deck, gasping for breath. Captain Harris and the others were already there, their faces pale and eyes wide with terror. "What's happening?" Tom yelled, his voice barely audible over the cacophony of screams. "The ship? It's cursed!" Captain Harris shouted. "We need to leave, now." We scrambled into the lifeboat, cutting the ropes and pushing off from the ghostly vessel. As we rowed away, the Maria Celeste seemed to shudder and wail, a mournful cry that echoed across the water. The fog thickened, swallowing the ship whole, and within moments, it had vanished completely, leaving only an eerie silence in its wake. Back on the Neptune's Grace, we tried to make sense of what had happened, but there were no answers. The logbooks of the Maria Celeste were blank, its history a mystery. All we knew was that something malevolent lurked within its hull, something that hungered for the souls of the living. That night, I lay in my bunk, unable to sleep, haunted by the hollow eyes of the specter in the mirror. The sea was calm once more, but I knew that somewhere out there, the ghost ship still drifted, waiting for its next victims. We never spoke of the Maria Celeste again, but the memory of that night stayed with us all. The ocean is vast and full of secrets, and some are better left undiscovered.